A brave woman named Gloria Arizabaleta, president of the Legal Accusations Commission, who a few hours ago suspended Gustavo Petro as president of the country for interference in the electoral campaign.
What she accuses him of are extremely serious violations against the country's electoral laws.
5 bodyguards and about 10 counter-surveillance personnel. That's what a woman has who has a conviction. A court ruling in which the judge does not consider any kind of assault, and there is a forensic medical report saying nothing is consistent with an assault, therefore there was no assault. And even so, the Ministry of the Interior still considers that risk to keep, I'm telling you, almost 15 police officers dedicated to this lady.
Remember, I told you that they took them to in buses, in guaguas, as we Cubans say, to the consulate. There they were told they had to vote for the PSOE, and then they were given a little box with food, 2 croquettes, and a bit of yellow rice. That's what an independent journalist who was there on the scene told me.
And now they'll want to say whatever they want. Racists, it's all a lie. It's just a way to try to manipulate. And interestingly, because here the left once again shows its perfidious, its treacherous nature and its lies and its hypocrisy, the ones who are really benefiting from this uncontrolled immigration you're talking about are the most savage capitalists, because this reserve army that's coming in is driving down rights of living standards, of wages won by your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, and by my father. That is to say, it's a lie. They are the best allies of the most ferocious and voracious capitalism.
I want to say that I appreciate being appointed as a minister for now, but I hope to move up a little higher. And I would like to start preparing my campaign with the slogan, "With Barragan, they won't screw it up."
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón.
Welcome, insiders. We're starting another day with a lot of information, some from Spain, and another very important one from far away, but very close to all of us, Colombia. Something unprecedented has happened. It had never happened before that a sitting president was suspended from office. And she just did it. There is a brave woman named Gloria Arizabaleta. She is the president of the Legal Accusations Commission, who a few hours ago suspended Gustavo Petro as president of the country for interference in the electoral campaign. They know they are between the first and second round, that there is a lot of battle between Cepeda, who is Petro's candidate, and the one who could be the new president. And the truth is that until July 21st at 1600 hours, which is when the polls close for the second round, this lady has said that Petro is no longer president. De la Espriella is delighted. Those of us who believe in democracy in the country are as well. But they are in the middle of a battle. We're going to Bogota to find out what has happened. Pilar Almagro, how are you? How's it going?
Very well, Albert. We're not bored at all here.
Not at all. Hey, what happened? Tell me, because this is something that has never happened before.
Well, the ruling was issued just a few hours ago. It's still midday here. And indeed, it's just as you said, until the last poll closes, this gentleman is suspended from work and from pay as well.
Wow. I love it.
What happens is that there's a paradox because this legal blow comes from this lady, Gloria Elena, with a Basque last name, as you can see. And she's from his own party. I mean, she's from her own party. So some even speculate, they say, could it be that this way they leave her free to be in Cepeda's campaign? You know, I mean, there's that speculation.
And of course, could it be that there are honest people in his party, something we miss in Spain, right?
That could be as well.
What had Gustavo Petro done for something like that to happen? I know he had asked for votes for Cepeda, which is illegal, right?
Yes, he's campaigning. I mean, what this order is aiming for is the neutrality of a president during a full campaign, a full presidential election campaign. That's what it's aiming for. And in fact, his account, Petro Gustavo, is being investigated. Let's see what he's also posting on his account. But come on, what he's being accused of are extremely serious violations against the country's electoral laws. And in fact, before the first round, they completely ignored the campaign silence period. They just skipped them. They claimed these were private events with several thousand people, but still private. I mean, they'll break any rule if they have to.
Are we also talking about possible electoral fraud, or has that commission not looked into it yet?
No, that's a very serious offense during the campaign, as far as I understand. What is true is that some legal experts say that in the end, this will be meaningless because these suspensions have to be issued by the Senate. But of course, since it's unprecedented, as you said, it's unprecedented. So now the legal battle of back and forth arguments begins. If this person is qualified to do something like the association they lead, yes. But on the other hand, they say, yeah. But a suspension like that, which has never been carried out with a president, would have to be done by the Senate. And that's where we are. But for now, big news, that's all anyone is talking about here.
You might ask, and most people on the street, do they think the decision is right or not?
Most people on the street are really fed up because on top of that, he comes out as if he were drunk, saying outrageous things like he has throughout his entire term. But now, during the campaign, it's even worse. Such outrageous things. I mean, you just have to go on social media and you can judge for yourself if you're fed up.
I don't need to tell you that you're in Bogota and I'm in Madrid. And how I wish something like that would happen in Spain, of course. That Sanchez would be told he can't ask for votes for one of his own, that he has to be neutral, that there shouldn't be electoral fraud. Let's see if Colombia has more electoral guarantees than Spain, right, Pilar?
The truth is that the institutions, at least the electoral ones, are working. They're working well, and the results were available immediately. And in the second round, well, everything points to it also being immediate and properly safeguarded. Yes.
We have seen images of De La Espriella, I'll show them later, with crowds of people in Cartagena de Indias holding rallies with an armored ballot box. It seems so easy to win the second round. Is it really that easy or not?
Well, according to all the math, yes, because of course the only vote Cepeda can mobilize is from people who didn't vote and now have to vote, but he can't mobilize more than that. On the other hand, De La Espriella can mobilize those same people, the ones who didn't vote and are either in favor or at least against Cepeda. And also, those who didn't make it to the second round, who are people from other right-wing parties and people from the center. So mathematically, if nothing changes, De La Espriella should win.
Although everything remains to be seen because the situation is very complicated and anything can happen until June 21st. Gustavo Petro is in New York, I'm told, on an official trip. Do we know how he has received the news of being suspended as president?
I honestly didn't know that, Albert. I'm surprised since he was on the Clinton list.
Yes, but he is. He's in New York visiting, that's for sure.
No, well, I don't know about that. Albert, I don't know.
Well, let's see if they don't let him come back. I hope that he comes back and faces whatever there is, right? That's the hope, right, Pilar? It's seeing democracy in Colombia again, seeing that the people have the reins of the country in their hands again and not a sinister figure like Petro.
And Cepeda is worse because Cepeda actually believes it. He's a philosopher trained in Marxist ideology and has communist parents, so he truly believes it. I mean, he would give his life for that project, so he's extremely dangerous. But here, for example, on my street, everything is for sale. I mean, for rent, for sale, whatever. The street is a mess. The bakery cafe we have across the street doesn't turn on the lights in the morning because so many businesses have gone bankrupt that they just can't afford it anymore. And that's how it is all over the country. So we're hoping that a bit of normality returns because Colombia has everything. It has all the natural resources, human resources, all kinds. It borders both oceans. And it's not normal for a country like this to be in such economic decline and therefore a decline in freedoms and so on. If you don't have enough to eat, what freedom is there? There's always been poverty here, but now it's much worse.
Pilar Almagro, this is the latest update we have from Bogota. Thank you for joining us, and let's see what happens in the next few hours. This is huge news. It's really shocking. Sending you a big hug from Spain. Take care.
Another big hug from Bogota.
Goodbye, dear. Pilar Almagro. Gentlemen, Petro has been suspended as president. I know you're already thinking, when will it be Noriega's turn? When will it be Lula's turn? When will it be Sanchez's turn? Little by little, we're making progress. Welcome, we're investigating.
Castillón Confidencial, by Albert Castillón.
Gentlemen, in Spain, there are hundreds of women threatened by their partners or ex-husbands or boyfriends who ask for protection and can't get it. Why? Because there aren't enough police. That's what they say. They give them a phone number, and a single police officer, man or woman, takes care of dozens of abused women if they see the threat nearby or if they need help. However, Sara Santolaya, I'm told she has 5 national police bodyguards. Let's see if that's true. Alfredo Perdiguero, how are you, Inspector? How are you, my friend?
I'm tired from last night's shift and I have to work again tonight. Plus, seeing what you mentioned makes me really angry with an older person. I can't help it.
Is it true?
Yes, Jose. 5 bodyguards and about 10 counter-surveillance officers. That's what a woman has who has a conviction, a sentence in which the judge doesn't consider any kind of assault, in which there is a forensic medical report that says there is nothing consistent with an assault. Therefore, there has been no assault. And even so, from the Ministry of the Interior, they consider her at risk to keep, as I said, almost 15 police officers assigned to this lady.
But it's crazy. To begin with, having counter-surveillance is extremely rare unless the person isn't a public official, right? Explain what counter-surveillance does, please.
Well, look, I'll tell you first, Albert, so that all the viewers know the criteria or the concepts used to decide whether an escort is assigned. First, the type of threat. Second, the source of the threat. Third, the threat's credibility. Fourth, the subject's capability. Fifth, the motive behind the threat. In response to this, the security board evaluates the threats, the environment, and the vulnerability, and either grants, modifies, or withdraws the escort. As you mentioned, a specific escort and counter-surveillance are assigned. What it does is anticipate a possible attack, anticipate the possible risk of aggression, and obviously inform the escort about what might be happening or what they might encounter. Do you really think this lady is at the slightest risk of anything, except that she's an extremist sectarian and obviously she'll be on the next Socialist Party slate to land a post? Nothing else?
I can't understand it. There hasn't been any threat. When the case went to court, it was dismissed. But it seems that this isn't a unique case. For example, we just found out that Lere Diaz, when she gave the press conference and Victor de Aldama was there, he confronted her, not violently, just verbally. From then on, Marlaska assigned a bodyguard to Lere Diaz. Is that right?
Well, he did assign one. Look, they assessed the risk she had, but it wasn't considered high. They determined it was a low risk and medium vulnerability, so they put counter-surveillance in place. Last night, the Interior Ministry considered it to be a bodyguard. Because look, counter-surveillance is still done by police officers, meaning plainclothes police with a gun. Therefore, it's still protection anyway. I don't care if you call them Pepito or Juanito. They are protectors of that person or of that individual. She was already under UCO investigation when assigned a bodyguard or counter-surveillance, Albert. I keep saying it's a bodyguard and the Interior Ministry confirms it. Even though yesterday the Interior Minister got really angry and said in Parliament that it was a lie, that there was no bodyguard and that the People's Party was lying and peddling hoaxes again. Last night, he admitted there was a bodyguard. And I'm going to what you started to say. Look, each gender violence police officer from Sufan is responsible for 100 women who are victims of gender violence. 100 women per officer. Do we really have to devote police resources and personnel to protect these individuals who don't deserve any protection because they're not at any risk? And yet leaving women who are victims of violence, I'm going to say, helpless and abandoned. Look, Albert, I can't deal with these things because obviously we have to use as many resources as possible, human, material, police, however you want to put it, to protect those who are truly at risk of losing their lives, and not these individuals who only cause trouble for the public.
But they also tell me that it's illegal. That is, there is a regulation that clearly establishes who should be escorted or not, and in which cases, and it's not being followed. It's done for friends from the party, for those who do you political favors, not for those who should actually be offered protection. Well, Dama is proof of that. Dama has been offered protection. She has never trusted whoever they might assign to her because she thinks they'll put a spy on her. It's incredible that this happens in a democratic state, isn't it?
Of course, but remember, Dama had 3 gunshots fired at the window of one of her cars, Albert. We have to remind the viewers of that. 3. I mean, this is no small thing. It was a threat, and obviously a blatant threat, because it was a warning to anyone about what she might say. And, he took a long time to speak up or to talk about certain things because he feared for his physical safety and for his families as well. So it's not just anything. Now, since you're an investigative journalist and also quite persuasive, you can ask to see who signed that police report to provide that escort for those people. Let's check how long it took to assign the escort for Dama compared to Santolala and Lere. We can see, as you say, that they quickly provide their friends with any resources needed. And yet, when it's someone who really might be at risk for their life, they hesitate and think it over just because they're not one of their own. And that's the shame and the disgrace, Albert.
That's what's happening in the National Police. Poor bodyguards, I think about them. Poor bodyguards who have to protect Leres, Cloaqueras, or Santolala instead of doing the work they'd like to do. All our encouragement so they can hang in there for now. Take care, Perdiguero. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. Same to you, Albert. Stay strong.
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón.
Friends, here we really like to keep an eye on the freedom of peoples, no matter who they are or where they are. We want it for Iran, for Nicaragua, for Brazil, for Colombia, and of course for Cuba and Venezuela, where freedom seems to be on the verge but never quite arrives. I'm very glad to have a contributor who is a real treasure, a writer much loved by all of you, and such an activist for freedom. She has been waiting for so many years that she went to Miami with the intention of returning to her country as soon as the Castros are gone and she won't be thrown in jail, right? Zoe Valdez, welcome. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. And you? Thank you so much, Albert. It's always a pleasure to be with you, with your guests, and with all your audience. Thank you very much.
You don't have much longer to wait, right? That's what they say. What do they tell you?
I came with that intention that there isn't much time left and that the leap happens together with so many people who want to return to our country and for the sake of building, not for anything other than building.
Both you and my sources are being told that this could happen at the beginning of June. All right, today is the 11th, right? So we're at the beginning of June. And the last thing we've seen is the image of the United States Secretary of War. They're watching a video where he gets off the plane in Guantanamo in Cuba, by the way, wearing a t-shirt and shorts. He's there for work, not on a diplomatic trip. We're moving forward with the plan. Do you know anything else? Dates, times?
No, nothing is known, but there is one thing we are certain of. So we're holding on to that certainty, all of us who are waiting. And the certainty, look what you just said, the outfit she came down in is a comfortable one. The Secretary of Defense, Peter Gesset, is wearing a comfortable outfit. It's an outfit that already makes a statement. Here we are, just like at home. Yes. And that is, I think it's a strong visual message. He hasn't dressed any differently than the people on the Cuban streets with what they have.
Yes, yes. Well, we have to give hope. There are people in Cuba who watch us, who follow you on social media, And the question they constantly ask us is how much longer, how much longer, how much more do we have to wait? After almost 70 years, we have to say that we are closer than ever. I think we're not lying about that, right?
No, that's not a lie. We are very close. And don't worry so much about Iran because that action could be done at the same time. I mean, there's no problem, I think. We hear you. Yesterday, I was analyzing that with Pepe Forte, who is also someone who has a very popular show. And about Iran, it's not going to, if it drags on, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to be an obstacle to anything.
Let it be clear, those who say, first he has to deal with Iran before going to Cuba. No, that's not how it works.
We shouldn't get discouraged. I will tell you one thing. If there's a message to give today to Cubans inside and outside, it's that we shouldn't get discouraged. Everything is on the right track. The sign that this young man with the power he has brought down, dressed like this in Guantanamo, is telling the Cubans, I'm one of you. Not like the fat-bellied ones who are there, as Oscar Sisto says in his book, and as the historian constantly says in his book, and then the fun began. No, he's not dressed like the nomenclatura or the people in power. Fat-bellied men with those guayaberas that almost aren't even made of cloth anymore. Let's just say they're made of wood. But this man has given a visual message. And remember, Cubans are very visual people.
Your book, Cuba, Freedom Now, is already available for pre-order and about to be released. When does that book come out?
No, it was released on May 19th and is in bookstores. The book is being very well received. It's a short book laying out proposals for radical change on the island, not just a transition. I think, and there's a large group of Cubans who believe that a transition would only lead to lethargy. We want a radical change to restore the republic, to restore democracy, and above all, to restore a new capitalism, which was already tried in Cuba and will be very prosperous for Cubans.
And above all, we have the situation in Venezuela. Don't compare. Venezuela and Cuba are not the same. They are different cases. Therefore, don't think that they are going to do the same thing in Cuba as in Venezuela. Well, we will talk about Cuba again. Let me greet Julio Bronchal, expert, psychologist, friend, intellectual, and genius. How are you?
That's me. I just don't recognize myself.
Claro. Of course. Who else would it be?
Well, Alberto, it's a pleasure to share this with you and with all the confidenciales.
Hey, how do we psychologically tell the Cuban people to wait a little longer after almost 70 years of waiting?
It gets hard, doesn't it? But of course, compared to how long a libertarian change has been anticipated, there's almost nothing left now, right? This, as we say in Spain, is almost here. So just one more little push, that's all. I understand that emergencies happen every day, and it's very easy to give encouragement from, let's say, comfort, convenience, misery, what we know through friends and acquaintances. Zoe knows that Spain and Cuba, in some way, are part of the same reality. There are many historical and family ties of all kinds, and we are very aware of what people have been suffering. If you'll allow me, Albert, I'd like to ask Zoe a question, right? I mean, to what extent, let's suppose a radical change like the one you're proposing, but to what extent is the regime, Castroism, involved in society, embedded in it? What portion of the population would in some way continue to long for what was a dreadful socialist experiment?
Well, that's not going to happen. Because the damage that has been done to Cuban society is so deep, so the dimensions are so... No, you can't. Look, there are children dying of hunger in the streets. The problem is that you are focused. And when I say you, I mean Europe. The United States is something else now with Donald Trump. This is over. I mean, not that idea about children in Africa. In Africa, there are children who live very well. Where children are really dying, truly starving, is in Cuba. Where old people are dying, sitting on the sidewalks, is in Cuba. Nothing will be worse than a radical change. And no transition, because transitions only allow socialism to come back again. And socialism will never be installed in Cuba again. We don't want it, like Castro said in a speech about the worms. We don't need them. We don't need either the socialists or the communists. We are going to build a prosperous society of capitalists with a new capitalism. It's time now, and Cuba, with its unity instead of communism, will be that example for the world.
May God hear you.
Julio, to think that they are children who speak our language are starving to death. We are their motherland, and here nobody gives a damn. And sending money, as Zoe says, to the Horn of Africa. Tomorrow, Pablo Cambronero will tell me that they've sent money to Mozambique, to Senegal, but in the millions. Now, as for Cuba, whenever they've sent something, it has never reached the people, right? As far as I know.
Not even a single image from the international press. A lot of fake news, a lot of little tricks showing children pretending to be dead, and the kids are moving their feet. A lot of lies from those tricksters, but there is never an image from the international press of a child starving in Cuba, not even from the Spanish press. Let's see where all those supposed brave people are now, the ones who claimed they'd go as correspondents and even went to Venezuela. They went to Venezuela, and in Venezuela they were detained. They don't even go to Cuba to do their correspondent work as they should. What is EFA doing? What are all the news agencies doing? They don't go to those places. Do you know why? Because in Cuba, doing those reports can cost an international journalist 20 years in prison. There are many journalists in prison in Cuba. Are they talked about? Not at all. Nobody says anything.
However, I think there's an additional factor. Also, you know the Spanish reality perfectly well. I mean, I follow you through the magnificent, excellent columns you publish. Yes, what I wanted to mention is that there's something more. I mean, you just talked about an interesting concept, right? So that it doesn't go unpunished. You talked about a Nuremberg for Cuban socialism. Every socialist experiment would deserve a Nuremberg, but the Cuban one in particular could be very, very interesting. I think that when the time comes, we'll have to leave a few seats for the accused, for all the accomplices and collaborators, not just Spaniards, but also Spaniards, who have spent decades whitewashing that horror, that tropical gulag, and who have been complicit in that silence that has hidden the misery of the Cuban people. Here, through the tourists who came and went, many of them well-intentioned, some even with idealistic ideas about what they would find there, they brought back chilling news about the reality people were living. And yet all of this has been silenced. Not only because of the repression of the regime, but because the left, as a totalitarian movement, as a substitute religion, makes its followers, its believers, its congregation close their eyes to reality and prefer to live hypnotized by what should be, not by what they actually see. And they have been complicit in prolonging the agony and suffering of the Cuban people. Let me recall something that you might know, but maybe not all the listeners do. There's a phrase by Karl Marx from classical Marxism, which said that phrase, socialism or barbarism. You've probably heard it, right? That's a slogan that, in fact, I even saw published in Havana, socialism or barbarism. And Cuban wit added, comma, socialism or barbarism, comma, if you'll pardon the redundancy. So yes, let this horror finally end once and for all, and may the Cuban experience unfortunately serve afterward as a warning to people not to be seduced by siren songs.
Well, just like in Berlin, there's a piece of the wall so that no one forgets. In Cuba, they should leave a block of houses so that no one forgets what communism did to Cuba. I hope they do it. Zoe, we're going to walk around Havana arm in arm, you and I. I'm telling you that in...
I already told you, get your little suitcases ready.
Just say the word and I'll go.
Me too. I'm in.
You're in. Well, Eris, don't leave me. I don't forget about other places. Ivan is in Peru and he's sending us this message from Peru. It's confidential.
In the current count, it shows that the left-wing radical Sanchez is ahead by 40,000 votes at 96.5%. But the votes that still need to be counted, according to my calculations, Keiko should surpass him and in the end win by about 50,000. The difference is small due to the anti-Fujimori vote. Since in the first round, the right-wing parties got 71%, the center got 8%, and the left got 21%, These anti-votes are from the idiots who didn't live through the terrorist era here in Peru, or those who have been convinced by the left's narrative.
Well, and the guerrilla, my friend Ivan, and the guerrilla that controls towns in the interior with a machine gun at the entrance to the polling station. I know we're all waiting for the overseas vote that could make Keiko Fujimori beat Sanchez. Because if Sanchez wins, Peru will become Cuba. You've seen the program, Zoe. It's terrible.
I've seen it. I'm getting some important messages about the visit, but I can't right now. Let me see. Wait, let me concentrate. Julio, say something there.
She's checking messages she's getting from Peru because they're doing the count right now.
About the visit. Look, I think with Peru, we're going to come out winning too. I have a lot of confidence in her. She has suffered a lot, and I think those 50,000 votes are going to give her the victory.
Now, Sanchez is celebrating it, but don't be fooled because this morning on the radio in Spain, on COPE, they were saying that Sanchez had won. Please, let them stop spreading misinformation. This is going to take a while. Maybe it will take us a week or 10 more days. Spain is lost.
The Spanish press is lost in translation.
Well, it's tremendous. And on the other hand, De La Espriella in Cartagena de Indias, look at Colombia with this man who is drawing in many people who hope he'll do many of the things Bukele has done in El Salvador and Milei in Argentina. Bukele in El Salvador and Milei in Argentina. He spoke to his people, as always, inside a bulletproof booth so that he wouldn't be killed.
The message is very clear.
It sticks.
Heir of the FARC, of the ELN, of the regime, I have come to confront you and to defeat you and to punish you, Ivan Cepeda.
This should never be seen, Julio. Really, may the one who makes it so that we never have to hold a rally inside a bulletproof booth again win. This is tremendous.
Well, but it's the consequence of the times we live in, isn't it? I mean, we've witnessed over time, if you look at it with perspective, over these last decades, a clarification of what the situation of the left itself is, right? The message is the following: the fusion between organized crime and the left. This wasn't so visible maybe 2 or 3 decades ago, but today it's absolutely clear. I mean, we see it in Spain, we see it in Venezuela, we see it in Colombia, we've seen it in Cuba, we've seen it in so many places. So it's normal for a candidate in a supposedly democratic country to have to protect themselves because there are mafia groups that, on top of that, have no scruples at all. And then they'll find social support to justify it. Notice that this corruption even reached the United States. When they killed this guy, I can't remember the name, he was an intellectual and advisor to Trump, right? A young man I tried to look into and follow some of what he was saying. He was an absolutely tolerant man, open to dialogue, always seeking conversation with others. They tried to label his ideas as radical. In the end, all that part of the corrupt press, accomplices of all these criminals, ended up going after him. They almost ended up justifying that he was killed. Therefore, that alliance between organized crime and the left is a reality. What happens is that winds of progress, awareness, and freedom are blowing. And everywhere, all over the world, people are beginning to wake up, tired of the lies, of the false promises of the left, wanting something essential, a normal life without ruin, excessive taxation, or the destruction of their own cultures and identities. And hopefully that will happen soon in Colombia. Things will become clear in Peru, and of course in Cuba as soon as possible.
Well, and in Spain, don't forget. Zoe, this is a general movement, not only in Europe and the United States, but also in Latin America, and with a lot of strength, right?
That's right. I think the movement is there, and it's a movement that's going to change a lot. It's even going to change Europe a lot, starting with Spain, which is the country. Listen to what I'm going to tell you, because today I saw the news about the murder in Barcelona. It's the country that still hasn't gotten into that cycle, into that debacle that France has entered. And England, look at what happened in Belfast, where there's 1 or 2 or even 3 murders every day. Spain isn't there yet, but Spain could still be the test for that change because Spain isn't so damaged yet. And that's what we have to fight back against. If we don't fight back against that, if Spain doesn't recover soon from all this garbage that's already in all the institutions, things will get worse and we won't make it. But the changes in Hispanic America, as you say, are going to have a huge influence on what will happen in Europe.
Notice that what has happened in Barcelona is terrible. 2 murders in less than 24 hours. You are seeing images of the murder on Baum Street in broad daylight, 10 in the morning, and of the murderer. I don't know if by the time you watch this program, he has already been arrested. I hope that's the case because you can see who he is with the weapon in his hand and his face uncovered. He wasn't wearing not even sunglasses so they can identify him. Who could have ordered the shooting? Who is the victim? We'll find all that out. And it really reminds us of what happened in Belfast, which was brutal. The attack in Belfast, the image is really shocking. You can see that man trying to slit an Englishman's throat. He's on top of him. It's shocking. He's a man of Sudanese origin. It seems he had a residence permit in Ireland until 2028. And people are recording him, but no one is going to jump in. I understand he's carrying a knife and making threats, but how can you allow someone to have their throat slit right in front of you? In the end, a neighbor hits him on the head with a stick and they take him down. He's under arrest. And him, the victim, is in serious condition but alive. This has caused a wave of outrage. Countless Icelanders took to the streets saying, "We've had enough. This is it. Enough already." As Zoe was saying, uncontrolled immigration, not those who come to work legally. And there have been tremendous disturbances. They have burned trams and even smashed windows and doors of houses of immigrants, surely committing some atrocity they will regret. But Julio, you have to understand that this is a symptom. That is, anyone who sees this image, what I'm describing as an act of racist barbarity, is mistaken. Here, someone is planting the seed. Someone's been planting that seed for years for this to happen, right?
Albert, what we can't do is pretend that by hiding a problem and covering it up with tons and tons of propaganda garbage, the problem will just disappear in the end. I mean, the difficulties are created. I mean, millions of people are being brought into European countries and we don't even know who they are, where they come from, or have any way to offer them a future. Driven by an absolutely hypocritical do-gooder ideology, all of this ends up creating social tensions that eventually erupt and crystallize. Well, in specific situations like the ones we've seen in Ireland, in Barcelona, or wherever, all of this leads to the disorganization and breakdown of a society. And there comes a moment when, as I said, despite that immense effort of social engineering, people care more about being called racist than about finding solutions to an immediate problem they're witnessing. That their daughters can't go out on the street freely like they did 20 years ago, that their sons are falling victim to robberies, beatings, and all kinds of tensions. Seeing how their taxes and resources, instead of contributing to the progress of society, are being allocated to a fund. Absolutely, to a bottomless pit that can never get enough. In the end, people wake up because you can't fool everyone all the time. In the end, that bursts open. And then they'll want to say whatever they want. Racist, it's all a lie, it's just a way to try to manipulate. And interestingly, because here the left once again shows its wicked face and its lies and its hypocrisy, the ones who are really benefiting from this uncontrolled immigration you talk about are the most savage capitalists, because this reserve army that's coming in is driving down rights, living standards, and wages, won by your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and my father. That is to say, it's a lie. They are the best allies of the most ferocious and voracious capitalism. And you have a do-gooder left, a false flag left, raising a series of slogans and playing the role, acting as a stooge for those shady, dark interests. of the darkest, most exploitative, and most sinister capital.
Look, last Tuesday, the Council of Ministers of Spain, there's no budget. It's been 4 years. It's the same. 833 million for the reception centers. They go to NGOs and government agencies. For example, those who are going to get more money from the more than 800 million are Red Cross, Korea, Red Akkoje, or Movement for Peace. I'll just tell you that the Movement for Peace is chaired by a former PSOE member of parliament, so they're distributing the money among themselves. Zoe, how did you see what happened in Belfast and in Spain?
I see Spain heading down that path, and it really worries me. You know, the fear I have about that, I've written about it in multiple columns, numerous columns. And the problem is that what's happened in France is going to happen, that they're going to start infiltrating the institutions. Look at the mayors of certain cities in France who are already calling for a civil war in case in the next elections there is a large movement towards national rally, towards Marine Le Pen. And so there are mayors who are African mayors who are calling for a bloodbath in the streets. Look at what happens. Every time there's a soccer game, it's something that turns into real scenes of civil war in the streets. And that's something that will keep happening and will keep being approved by the institutions and the courts. There will be much more of it. Just like now, they give them more civil situations. It benefits for them and not for the native-born citizens. Yes, for them, when it comes to judging them, that will also be taken into account. And that's the reason why a girl was murdered in France. Liana, she's not the only one. Many have been killed. Many girls and boys have been dismembered in France because that has to do with sex, with those sectarian tribal groups they have. And what will happen is that those courts will be influenced by an ideology that is already an ideology of invasion, not an ideology of immigration, an ideology of invasion and the destruction of the West.
Look, there is a party called Andalusi that has already run in some local elections. Well, the leader is Hassan Izquierdo, and they are running for mayor of Barcelona in the upcoming local elections in May. This has never happened before, and there's no doubt they may well get a very good result because they will make sure to flood the campaign with money allegedly coming from the Moroccan government, which is the one financing them. This is a plan and it's already underway. Zoe.
They will start mutilating girls, just like it's already happening in France, where they end up in the emergency room because the mutilations are done at home. Genital mutilations as a result of, well, their religion, right? When that starts, you will see the horror, you will see the daily horror every day in the emergency rooms with the daily mutilations that happen to minors, to girls.
How horrible you who have lived and still live in Paris to see that again every day, right? I have messages. The first one is from Luis, who has Cuban descendants.
I am proud to be of Spanish descent, and I dream of one day being able to meet an ancestor of mine with the same last name. They went to Cuba and have been there several times, but they always go to the same place, to a place in eastern Cuba called Manzanillo, in the city of Granma. The descendants who were there and took care of him, he was my grandfather's great-grandfather, and those who took care of him and lived with him were smart and got Spanish papers and went to Spain.
That's great. Hugs. Hopefully you'll reconnect with your roots soon. And then they send me information from the Canary Islands and ask me if we know what Miosotti de la Caridad Paradello is doing. This woman with such a peculiar name is a minister in the Canary Islands government, originally from Cuba. And we have been looking into her duties as a minister, and she has made many trips to Havana for exchanges, agreements, and humanitarian aid. They ask me what all this is hiding because sometimes, under the umbrella of humanitarian aid, there are people who help the Castro regime, Zoe.
Yes, allegedly that's what's happening not only in the Canary Islands. Don't forget that in Cuba there's a Canary Islands Association that has allegedly helped with those naturalizations that have been granted to Cubans. Numerous ones that happened in the previous Spanish elections are happening again. Remember that I told you they were taken by bus in guaguas, as we Cubans say, to the consulate. There they were told they had to vote for the PSOE, and then they were given a little box with food, 2 croquettes, and some yellow rice. That's what an independent journalist who was there on the scene told me.
Please.
There are associations that are dedicated to this, to stealing, to taking money from Spaniards to give it to the Castro tyranny, because that money doesn't go to the Cuban people. That's for the Castro tyranny. And besides that, they're committing fraud. From now on, they're already setting up a fraud, the kind they know how to pull off. That's what they do. That is, they're going to grant citizenship, as they're already doing in Venezuela and other places, to a large number of people to tell them, we give you a little food, you eat today, and you vote for the PSOE and for Pedro Sanchez. That has to be stopped right now, of course. But anyway.
It's incredible. With 2 croquettes and a bit of yellow rice in exchange for a vote. It's brutal. And speaking of high-ranking officials, the president of a Cuban Galician association was just arrested by the police because they found 5 kilos of cocaine on her. That Cuba drug connection continues with the Castros.
Yes, and look within Spain. I mean, it's not just, there have also been a lot of scams here with Medicare and all that, the pharmaceuticals. But look, it's already within Spain, and if that's been discovered, there must be some other connections out there that should be investigated.
Look, Oscar, go ahead, Julio.
Yes, Albert. No, it's just that in light of all this, it's worth making a basic point, right? I mean, we talk about NGOs, and I think we need to start challenging that narrative. Look, NGO is the acronym for non-governmental organization. It's not a lie, that's what they are. They should be called PGOs. Why? Because they are pro-government or para-government organizations. They survive only on public funds. That is to say, they are as governmental or even more so than others. In fact, they are very opaque when it comes to oversight and monitoring of their activities. So paraphrasing what was said, one could say that humanitarian causes, how many crimes have been committed in your name? Because behind each of these so-called NGOs, or OPGs as we should call them, there are always networks of ideological complicity. They serve as a base for shady operations and for handing out jobs to friends and loyal officials. At a certain point, they mobilize a part of society around that cause in support of those in power. And always, there's a shady business background that brings returns, in this case, to the Socialist Party. We need to start dismantling that lie right now. And just like Trump did in the United States with Elon Musk, who took charge of monitoring that, under the guise of humanitarian aid, funds were being siphoned off in a clientelist way and with massive corruption. Here we also need to start dismantling this huge lie about non-governmental organizations. And just one note. And speaking of them, the Red Cross deserves a special mention, and I say this as a Valencian, because the role they played here during the Dana storm is enough for you to dedicate almost a whole episode to it. Mentira, advertising, putting up funds all over Spain to raise money, and here they would come out, take a photo. All the Red Cross girls, poor things, I'm not criticizing them, they were clean, immaculate, spotless, while the rest of us were covered in mud up to our eyebrows. It was a marketing tactic to keep raising funds and then waste them. They're just accomplices as well, as we said before, in that migrant invasion. Because in the end, all that juicy pot of money ends up being channeled through those organizations that are more criminal than non-governmental.
And in Spain, they're going after ministers and Sanchez because the corruption is up to their eyebrows and about to drown them, but they still cling to their positions. They all lie, and when the press asks Minister Oscar Lopez, Bolaños, or even Sanchez himself, they always get the same answer, this one.
What are your thoughts on Lara Diaz meeting twice at the prosecutor's office? Why did Lara Diaz have counter surveillance? Mr. Sanchez, good morning. Did you know that Lara Diaz met twice?
What a lack of manners. What a way to treat journalists. It's disgusting, such brutal discrimination. He only accepts interviews when he goes to small-time podcasts run by people who have no idea what to ask. Zoe, it's embarrassing how they treat us.
It's embarrassing, but some pro-government journalists are complicit in this and accept being treated that way. So that's really terrible. I'm sorry to say that no communist admits it. None of them do.
Yeah. Let them tell you, right? No communist admits it. Look, Jose recorded how they kicked him out. Jose is an informant who was at the door of Congress and recorded how the police kicked Vito Quiles out of Congress and didn't let him in. This is the scene. And it's incredible.
All of this live right here.
That's wild. Look.
I mean, Vito isn't allowed in. Vito stands at the door to follow them, which is what he does, and asks them the only interesting questions. Him, Bertrand, Ndongo, and not many more. And the police escort him. Please, you can't be here. The profession is at its lowest, gentlemen, and the worst part is most of them still cheer him on like crazy. The Spanish government has a lot to regret, but will be here, speaking the truth. For example, Oscar Puente, the minister, goes around crying at rallies about the hard life his communist grandfather had. Listen.
Comrades, thank you so much for including me because I am a socialist by birth. I am the son of a socialist activist and the grandson of a socialist activist from the Republic, an official of the Valladolid City Council who lost his position as an official because he was a socialist. He was lucky that he only spent 3 years in prison from 39 to 42. I say he was lucky because his fate was supposed to be the firing squad. They were taking him in a truck from the garages of...
Oscar Puente's grandfather is probably everything Oscar Puente has said, but his name was Antonio Santiago Alvarez, and he was the representative of the Francoist Vertical Union in Valladolid. Zoe, they really have no shame.
But the thing is, these people do it themselves. They send themselves anonymous messages, you know? These people send themselves anonymous messages. So they make up a story, invent a tale, and soothe themselves to sleep. All of this makes me laugh a lot, and I laugh, but I tell you, it's so I don't cry, because this is what's going to this is causing a huge earthquake in Spanish society. Yeah, this has even happened in Spain, and they're coming back with the same thing again. And this lunatic, because that's what he is, a lunatic who doesn't allow the slightest thing, has blocked I don't know how many people. On X, he doesn't allow anyone to say anything to him, making up some story so that people will respect him a little bit, right? It's honestly laughable. It makes you want to cry, but it's also embarrassing.
Look, Albert and Zoe, let's do a meta-analysis of what he said, okay? Beyond whether it's true or false, because notice how he appeals to a concept, which is lineage heritage. He's aiming for what could be, right, an aristocracy. They create in parallel, as if it were a hall of mirrors, something that is precisely the opposite of what they fight against. He's talking about a kind of lineage that reaches him, and in the end it all culminates in Oscar Puente, the grandfather, the father, all the socialists. Well, I told you in the previous program that there should come a time when claiming to be a socialist or calling oneself a socialist should cause as much shame in society as confessing to being a pedophile, for example. With all the crimes that socialism has accumulated, that disastrous, terrifying ideology, the most criminal system of ideas that history has ever known, that they still dare to claim it with pride, as if it were a badge of honor of such a lineage. But in the end, it was just that comment that caught my attention. In the end, honestly, they seek to be a kind of red aristocracy. But what were you talking about? And then it turns out it's a lie because the grandfather, as you just said, ended up fitting into that society, playing his role in the vertical union, and the man survived as best he could. But of course, claiming all this as your own is all a lie. Socialism is all a lie.
About the government, Guerrero, Esmeralda, Javier, and Gloria.
What a mafia. The director of the Civil Guard, the Civil Guard's deputy director of operations, the other captain, the one in charge of worldly rights. Who else? How should I know the whole gang? They're all in there. What is this? This is a giant sewer. If they start pulling on this thread now, who knows what this government will stir up next, right?
When a president, a former head of state, keeps over €1 million in jewelry in his office, when he takes bribes for doing business with other countries, I don't know where they draw the line between a banana republic and Spain.
Why do people in Spain brag so much about the justice system which they claim is quote-unquote fair, but to me it's just another criminal organization? Why is it that when there's a criminal organization within the state's law enforcement and security forces at the highest ranks, those people aren't immediately put in pretrial detention so they don't destroy evidence?
The ombudsman in the government, let's say, what role do they play? I don't know. It's just that if they're there, we have a representation, let's say, independent in theory, right? I don't know. It's just that this man doesn't do anything for us or even listen to us.
Friend, the ombudsman in Spain is Angel Gabilondo, the PSOE candidate for the Community of Madrid. He earns $160,000 a year and does nothing. But in the autonomous communities, and there are 9 that have ombudsmen, the same thing happens. They are chosen by the ruling parties. They cost us $33 million a year for doing nothing, because even if they issue some recommendation, right, Zoe, the governments are not required to comply with it. It's just a recommendation. Basically, they've corrupted a good idea and turned it to their advantage as always.
Exactly. And also with a kind of philosophy that if it's not like this, it can't be any other way. So there are no options. These people don't give anyone any options for anything. And these people keep stealing. Look at the jeweler. The jeweler, well, come on. About the jeweler also, such a basic question, right? Where did these people put their jewelry? At home or when they went to make coffee? I don't know, because it's just crazy, right? It's really something else. Total shame. Shame on a whole other level, right?
Well, today we started the show by explaining some big news too. And it's that Delcy Rodriguez might have several jewelry stores in Dubai, and maybe she was the one who gave the jewelry to her dear Prince Zapatero. But anyway, watch the beginning of the show if you haven't seen it. And we have to talk about the Pope, and I want your opinion. They're still here. Marian, Sofia, Valentina, and Maria Angeles are doing it.
I'm Catholic, and obviously I've seen things that I really didn't like at all. Instead of speaking in Catalan, which he doesn't have to do, not even a little bit, or going, I don't know, to the stadium or whatever, why didn't he go to the Valley of the Fallen? Why didn't he go visit Valencia?
The desecration of the Valley of the Fallen that they are carrying out while the Pope is visiting Spain is the lack of respect this criminal government has for Catholics, just like their ancestors. But the Pope is in Spain. Why doesn't he go to the valley to defend it?
Don't pay attention to the things he says just to look good. Otherwise, watch what they're doing to the church. They're destroying it. They're tearing it apart from the inside. That's the real face, the true face of this Pope. He's an anti-Pope.
It really caught my attention when I saw the plane arriving in Barcelona without the flags. And in Madrid, it arrived with the flags. And then I heard the pilot, I think it was the pilot, explaining that it's the Vatican's protocol. So the flags are on the flight that comes from the Vatican to the country being visited, and then they're put back on for the last flight. So it will be put on in the Canary Islands when he returns to the Vatican.
All right, but he had them not when he arrived, but when he was going from Madrid to Barcelona. So it still doesn't make sense to me that the Spanish flag would be taken off from there. Zoe, what did you think, or what are you thinking about this visit, since there's still the Canary Islands and something left in Barcelona?
Yes, well, this Pope, like the previous one, is a bit of a windbag, right? But anyway, let me tell you something. The Pope is the reference point against the invasion we're facing right now. And I think the speech he gave in Congress is a speech that, for me, I think is very, very not only interesting, but very important, both within Spain and outside of Spain. I don't think it's probably, I think a good part of it is his own work, but the circle around him isn't helping. And the thing about the Valley of the Fallen has definitely bothered me a lot. It bothered me that there wasn't any mention, that there wasn't a word, that there wasn't a visit. It's only natural that where the biggest cross in the world is, he should have been there, because it's the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. I am Catholic. I have faith in values and faith in Catholicism and Christianity, of course. But it's true that he has made mistakes. Look, a big mistake he made was when he talked about Muslim history in Spain. I mean, how could he? But how could he? Please, Julio, help me. How could he?
Julio, that sugar-coated, fantastic, completely ahistorical vision of some kind of peaceful coexistence when we were hitting each other with clubs for 8 centuries, it's just a lie. To begin with, it's a lie. I mean, it's all false. It's trying to project a wishful, idealistic desire onto a reality that, if you look into it even a little, completely contradicts it. I think the desire for coexistence and tolerance is very good, but it's just not true. For example, Cordoba was the scene of killings, of massacres carried out by Islam, just as at other times they were carried out by Christians. The truth is, we were at each other's throats here. It was 8 centuries of fighting. So it's easy to deceive. It's a different story when you dig deeper into reality. The question is, why do they want to deceive us? Why do they want to sugarcoat and whitewash Islam, which is much more than just a religion? It's a political project of domination. Why? So what is the purpose of that discourse, which actually makes our eyes are covered and we are left defenseless against an immediate reality that we face every day? And if we don't wake up, we're going to have a very serious problem, and we'll have to emigrate, for example, to Cuba with Zoe when she becomes president, so she can defend us. And to have a place of comfort and consolation, and a reference point for our own culture.
Yes, sir.
Julio, I'm going to take you to Cuba when, or we'll all go together when that happens. What I want to do is build the biggest library in Hispanic America in Cuba. An immersive library where, in the Gardens of the Queen, on the islets, you could, for example, recreate a novel, The Color of Summer, by Reynaldo Arenas, by one of those authors who were banned in Cuba. That's my plan. I think I'm one of the few Cuban women who doesn't want to be president of Cuba.
You're smart. You're smart.
That's exactly why I should be.
Exactly, yes. Hey, to finish, I have a very special message. Bernabe says, look, in Spain, chaos and politics don't solve our problems. The political class leaves much to be desired. And he proposes something that might work, but I'm not sure. Listen.
There are a group of us who think that it's no longer about voting or working the way it's been done, but that we need to create people's assemblies. But the real ones, not the ones that were wrecked during the 15M movement, the ones they infiltrated during 15M. And that's why we are calling for the creation of a sovereign national assembly of the peoples of Spain, based on natural law, not on positive law, which is what governs us, but on natural law.
Look, I know it sounds strange because, for starters, this has been tried many times and it has never really worked out, Zoe. But given the lack of solutions from the party system and politics, could we citizens take the reins with something similar?
Well, I think they already are. The Spanish people are taking the reins through Vox and on their own, and that's very necessary. I think there will be, I don't know if I'm wrong today, but I think there will be another demonstration, right? It already happened, and we can't abandon the streets can't be abandoned. The big problem in France is that the French have let others take over the streets. The streets belong to the invaders, to the criminals, and the Spanish. I think they need to see that and be very alert about it, very alert, and not leave the streets. It's important that doesn't happen and that the Spanish take control.
Julio, what's your opinion on the People's Assembly?
I have some reservations, as many concepts need defining. I don't understand the idea of peoples of Spain. Spain has one people, the Spanish people. No additions are needed. And then these movements that are hard to oversee, at first I have some reservations about them. It's a kind of parallel power. It seems to me that there's a much more tangible project, which I understand to be immediate and possible, something like a majority, an absolute majority with enough quorum between PP and Vox to carry out a significant constitutional reform, and if you want to go even further, to draft a new constitution that would prevent us from returning to the situation we're in now. This seems to me a much smarter project. Let's suppose 210 deputies, a figure that is attainable right now, and then a comprehensive reform of the constitution is proposed, limiting the power of the groups that intend to destroy the country, limiting the power of those who have ties, whether historical or current, to terrorism, and to those groups that have collaborated with criminal regimes like the Venezuelan one. That is, the support of the current government, and the constitution is reformed by limiting the people's real power through a nationwide district. To avoid, among many other improvements that need to be implemented, a radical reform of our constitution, so that we don't have to relive the nightmare we're experiencing right now. To me, that seems like a much more inspiring project. However, it would be necessary to push so that the hardline factions of the People's Party, who live in another world, another story, and another historical moment, realize that we are at a point of no return.
What you say is very important, and I think we can be at the forefront of that idea here. Pressure Vox and the People's Party to either change everything and announce that they are going to change everything before the elections, making it almost their only campaign platform. Look, yesterday there was a question session in Congress. Nobody cares, nobody watches it, nobody believes them. And I'll play you 30 seconds so you can see, you too, which is the only thing they say in Congress.
You didn't know anything, but you never get tired of pulling the wool over the eyes of the Spanish people, sir.
We are in the best moment of our country's democratic history, and you are the worst leader of the opposition in this democracy.
Mr. PSP, if you knew everything, you will have to resign for corruption. And if you didn't know, you will have to resign for incompetence.
If you want to play with initials, first ask who Emra Joy is.
Whether it's boring or not, I'm fed up. I don't watch it. I don't follow it. I'm not interested. Nothing changes. They can go on like this for 40 years, living with this nonsense. Zoe, we're fed up.
Look, the same thing happens to me with Pedro Sanchez's voice as used to happen with Fidel Castro. My skin crawls when I hear him. It's an allergic reaction to that guy, a deep disgust I feel toward that person. I hear him, and it doesn't just make me feel dread, it's beyond dread. He's unbearable, and besides, he's a guy who has the same style of speech as Fidel Castro. I said it in 2016 when I wrote, the book about him. I said it. He has the same way of talking without saying anything and of stirring people up. He's a troublemaker, a professional.
But look, going back to the classics, Albert and Zoe, who said that a fallacy is a mistaken way of thinking that leads you to wrong conclusions. This is the tu quoque fallacy, which means and you too and you too. In the end, when someone says and you too, they're implicitly saying me too. So the level of degradation is absolute, but nothing matters anymore because they wallow in the mud and the filth of corruption. And it's no longer about defending the indefensible, it's about trying to make the other person look dirtier, more tainted. But we can't move forward like this. A country that wants to progress has to break free from that fallacy. It has to look toward the future with hope. And we have to go back to this idea that you found interesting of a reform, of a constituent assembly taking advantage of the mechanisms provided by the current constitution. We're going for a very strong majority, where we'll also need to get social commitment through social organizations, all kinds of pressure groups, and that sector of the PSOE that needs to be awakened so they realize the reality we're living in today.
Let's pick up that baton and see if we can spark it from here so that it truly becomes a wave, a tsunami. My dear Zoe Valdez, love to the Cubans in Miami, and soon we'll cross the pond and head over there. Freedom. Freedom. Let's see what the symbol looks like. Like this. I like it. Freedom. A kiss for you, Zoe. I love you. Goodbye, dear. Dear Julio, have you missed the Pope visiting the victims of the Dana?
Of course I did. I liked the speech in Congress, but I think Valencia was a place that deserved that visit and that understanding. That's it. Thanks again to Albert. I'll say goodbye in the Roman way, this time in Latin. Virtue and honor. Strength and honor.
Strength and honor, my favorite words that the gladiators used to say when entering the arena. Of course, they died, but we're going to last a little longer.
But we have to bring back the classics. Virtus et honor, which is in Latin.
Virtus et honor, Julius Hux. We're going to the newsroom. Susana Gas, latest messages.
Well, greetings to you too. Here we are in the Castillon Confidential newsroom, always receiving lots of messages and lots of opinions from all our Castillon Confidential followers who, as I always say, are all around the world. That's the case with Juan, who says he's very happy to have been able to meet Carlos Moreno, known as El Pulpo, on our show. He says he's been listening to him on Poniendo las Calles for many years. He only knew his voice, but he's a great person. Congratulations on having him on the show. Maria Jose says that Mrs. Nogueras is asking the Pope to do what she herself hasn't done in Congress, which is actually the official house of all Spaniards, and that someone should remind them in Spanish. Or in English, let's see if she gets it. Also in this case, Bartolome says that Marlaska, since he joined the government, he committed one crime after another. He doesn't stop. This good man doesn't stop. He has to pay for everything he's doing and for each one of them, especially for the lack of help to the civil guard officers. Francisca says she also thanks you for supporting the good people. She's referring to that editorial you did yesterday about the civil guard. She says for supporting the good people and rewarding them, and also for thanking them for everything they're doing. Carmen tells us that she has been listening to you and watching you for a very long time. She has always loved all your explanations. I'm 76 and feel deeply sad about what we're going through. It makes me sad to think that I am leaving my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren in this country. I feel so powerless, not being able to do anything to prevent what is happening. I think that justice alone cannot change this. Something should be done. And also, Gigi says that we need to clean out everything in the government and do it thoroughly. Come on, we need to do a general cleanup. And Antonio also congratulates you for the show, for all the risky things you do and say, and especially for reaching out to people. It's important to be able to share everything you know, because for us here, those of us who don't watch television, we only get our information from you. And we'll leave it here, Albert. It's important that you follow us on all our social media, on all our channels, and especially every day here at 7 in the morning, Castillon Confidential. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you very much. In fact, even a little before 7, we're already here telling you the news. Well, what you're about to see is going to surprise you in a minute. He's the star of the highest grossing film in Spanish history, Torrente, the latest by Santiago Segura. And there he plays the role of Minister of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Barragan, yes, Barragan is joining the show today. You can't miss it.
You're listening to Castillon Confidential.
Ladies and gentlemen, a few days ago, a meme went viral. These games made with artificial intelligence shows Pedro Sanchez handing over the position of Minister of Finance to Barragan. Take a look.
Now I leave the budget in the hands of our most qualified minister.
Hello, how are we doing?
Mind you, this is a joke, yes, but in Santiago Segura's movie Torrente, he also makes Barragan a Minister of Health. I won't tell you more because you still have to go see it. But be careful, because the rumor that Mr. Manuel Barragan could become a minister in this or other governments is out there. That's why we wanted to go to the original source. Mr. Manuel Barragan, how are you?
Hello, how are we doing? Good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
What's wrong? Why are you laughing now?
A lot of memories come back when you were poor and both of us used to go to the radio station to beg. Yes, sir, those were the days.
You and I have done everything. Gigs in nightclubs, radio shows. We've worked a lot. You look very well, Don Manuel.
Well, vitamins and these things help you, yes, sir.
So, is it true that they want you to be a minister? Have they asked you to be a minister or not?
Well, yes, in the movie they make me Minister of Health, but now it's much more interesting, you see, because it's Minister of Finance and that's where the money is. Do you understand? Yes, sir?
But honestly, the health thing was already a bit creepy. Yes.
6 years.
Do you know? What do you know?
I'm not sure if it fit health, but I was thinking about showering and everything. But like I said, the one in finance is much more interesting, Albert.
But I don't really see you in finance. I mean, what company have you managed? How do you know how to handle that?
Well, neither do I, but once they appoint you, you just do whatever you want, and since we're buddies and I have a lot of friends, we can divvy things up, Albert.
Are you suggesting what you're insinuating is a crime?
No way, no way, this is just a fact. This is something that happens all the time, Albert. Why should we kid ourselves?
Unfortunately. Don Manuel, getting into politics is really something. You don't know what you're getting into if you do. Have you tried it once or not?
No, I don't have a damn clue, Albert, but I think that's partly why they picked me. Because I'm like, yes, sir, I just do what they tell me. And that's it.
Of course, as long as there's something to hand out, right? That's what it's about.
Exactly, yes, sir.
All right. Have you ever been bribed? Have you ever taken money under the table in some political scheme or not?
Under the table, I don't know. In my hand, yes, but I don't know what you mean. Well, more or less like everyone else, Albert. Why should we fool ourselves? Well, when there's a compelling reason, you do it. And if you're hungry, even more so.
Yeah. But you've never lacked food and you've always lived well. Well, they say that Santiago Segura pays very well.
Now, yes, in this one he does. In the other one, he was pretty stingy, right? But in this one, since I have more than just a cameo, a real role, the guy had to step up and I've gotten paid more. Yes, sir. But don't say it because the tax guys, I'm not one of them yet. They're going to take half of it from me.
You've already said it, so it's done. There's no turning back now. The tax guys are friends, right? They're really good friends of yours. Yes.
Yes, all of us are actually.
Yes, all of us. By the way, about Santiago, do you realize that you're the co-star of the most watched movie in Spain's history?
Oh, he doesn't even believe it himself. But look, he really deserved it because even if he doesn't get any Goya awards or anything, the guy makes people laugh. And now with the kids' movies, he gets the whole family to go to the movies and that's it. And listen, he deserves it. He earns his living because he's not stupid.
No, he's not stupid. And how has life treated you? Looking back now, are you happy? Are you satisfied? Well,
I can't complain. For the little I've done, life has given me a lot. Yes, sir. They say it's hard to make people laugh. For me, it's not hard at all because just with the way I look, people already start laughing. And they laugh, remembering when they were young and already saw me on TV saying, hello, how are we doing, and all that. And look, nowadays humor is supposed to be smarter, but in the end, nobody understands it. And I make a living from jokes, and this will always exist. People always relied on jokes.
That's true. Man, tell me one that you can actually tell.
Is this a children's time slot?
With me, it's always kid-friendly, yes.
No, it's just that we have to be careful because you pay a lot of attention to manners, and I wouldn't want to offend you.
You are completely free here, Don Manuel.
Well, let's look for a simple and short one so we don't offend anyone. One friend says to another, do you like tripe? He says, yeah, I'd sleep with anything. Got it. It's not dirty because I didn't say anything dirty.
Out of line. No.
Do you want an agro-intelligent one, Albert?
Please, yes, please.
A little dwarf girl who was walking down the street singing because little dwarves are very cheerful. La 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 la. And then she saw a sign on a building that said, Association for Dealing with Dwarfism Optimistically. The little dwarf girl goes in, sees it, and says, hi, how are we? He replies, hi, beautiful, what did you want? She says, I came to sign up. He answers, that's the spirit. You get it. Of course, because she came to sign up to grow, Albert.
No, don't explain it. It makes it worse.
Like on the radio, where you always cut me off halfway.
I've never cut you off.
No, I'm joking. I'm saying it to make Albert look good.
Oh, God, is he wearing the same clothes from 40 years ago?
Well, let's see. There's only one change from summer to winter. The winter one is very uncomfortable because it's cold in winter and hot in summer, and it's very heavy. And now look at this one. This is the summer one. Yes, sir, it's lighter.
But it's the same one. I didn't change it.
Yes, everything. The beret, the same one, the everything.
Are you still doing tours and performances?
Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm still doing gigs, movies, everything, because bad weeds never die, and it's true. In my case, I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if they hire me because I'm good or because I'm cheap, you see.
Because I'm cheap. Have you had any health problems? You're okay now, right?
Yes, he's had some heart issues. He's given me a few scares, but nothing serious, nothing. He's pushed through, kept going. Yes, sir.
May I ask how old Don Manuel Barragan is?
80 years old.
No.
But I'm very proud of it, yes, sir, and in great shape. 80 years old. I was born on May 19th, 1946. Do the math. 80 years old.
But no one would guess it.
No, and if you saw me naked, I win, man. I win.
Do you win? I lose, each one of us here.
Most of us. Let's see.
Do you know the good you've done making so many people happy? I have the honor of introducing you at some public events, and just when you come out. They're already waiting. Everyone stays quiet. People pay attention to every word you say. Making thousands, hundreds of thousands of people happy, that's a real satisfaction, isn't it, Don Manuel?
Well, yes, sir. Besides making money, of course, it gives you a boost. And if you do what you love, what more could you want? You're happy, and you don't harm anyone, although some people I have critics too, Albert.
You don't say.
Because no matter what you do, you can't please everyone.
Yeah, and you have imitators, a lot of them.
Oh, yes, sir. And there are towns that during Carnival, people dress up as me because it's very easy. You just put on a beret and some thick glasses, and that's it, Barragan. Haha, yes, sir.
No, that doesn't bother you.
No, it's a compliment. It's a tribute, Albert. Yes, sir.
Well, the truth is that now a lot of people who will see us all over the world will say, how do I know if it's the original or if it's a copy? Is there any way...
It's easy. Usually if they do it well, then it's not me.
Well, before saying goodbye to you, and I'm left with the concern that's on your mind about being a minister, I hope you get rid of it soon. Let's fix the jokes because the first one was unpleasant.
It's very unpleasant. Yes, it just slipped in. Look, this one's cute, Albert. It says, how do you say? Out or were? It says were. Well, it's been there forever, were. You see, he wanted to say out and he made a mistake. Not this one, no, gross Albert. It's just that those who aren't a little bit greenish like this are idiots. What do you want me to say?
Well, I can't take it anymore because I just don't know. I don't know. Well, let's leave it here because I was trying to fix it. That's it.
It's hard, Albert.
Your image in the eyes of the public, but there's no way. There's just no way.
No. It's just something that's been around for a long time and people expect it. When I tell a smart joke, nobody laughs.
Let's see. Try it.
See? He says, hey, your wife always winks at me whenever she sees me. He says, don't pay attention to her. She has a nervous tick. He says, well, I've slept with her. Of course, he thought she was coming on to him, Albert.
Leave it, leave it. We're not going to try again. He's told me all four politically incorrect.
But I appreciate it. I appreciate your good faith.
But they're going to shut down our channel. How many stations have you shut down? How many times, please? And you keep going, but people are left out on the street. It's terrible.
They've censored the Catalan channel. Yes, sir. They're on Cadena Rato, Cadena Rato.
Years ago, I was there.
For years. He was the first comedian to be censored since Franco's death. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not surprised they censor him from time to time.
It has to be said, you have to take the joke, Albert. There are more unpleasant things in life, like taking advantage of the poor and keeping money that isn't yours. That's it. That's how I see it.
Since you're going to be a politician, go ahead and close this conversation as you wish.
Well, I just want to say that I appreciate being appointed as a minister for now, but I hope to move up a little more. And I would like to start preparing my campaign with the slogan, with Barragan, you won't mess up. Yes, sir. Then I'll stop being a minister of nonsense and aim for the top.
Let Sanchez and Feijóo shake in their boots.
Come on, if Torrente did it, why can't Barragan do it?
No doubt, no doubt. Mr. Manuel Barragan, it has been an honor to have you on this humble show. Thank you very much.
I thank all your listeners for their patience, and as for you, Majo, may you get bitten by a beetle.
There it is, the farewell he's been giving me for 50 years. God, we sure have patience. I love you very much. Take care.
A big kiss to your whole audience.
How great Barragan is. What a joy to talk to my friend after so many years. Well, Alex, thank you for your support.
I've followed you for years and I'm a member of your channel. Congratulations, really, on everything you're doing.
My job, I don't do anything extra. If we all did our jobs the best we know how, and I know most of you do, imagine how much Spain would progress, please. Well, Gile has a dream.
Today, I would like all 346,000 of us to have a dream and invoke the law of attraction. Dreaming that Zapatero is arrested and imprisoned along with Sanchez and this government, and that the PSOE is outlawed. Let's see if together with the law of attraction we can make it happen.
I assure you, my friend, that I dream about that every day. I've been dreaming about that for 8 years. And little by little, the path is being paved. You'll see, we're winning battles every day. We have to have a lot of confidence. Well, Freud Lannister has weighed in with his own take on Broncano's show.
Welcome, progressive friends. Today we'll keep using your taxes to praise our beloved leaders' policies. Doctor, what are your thoughts on the tobacco alternatives that the government also wants to ban?
Well, Broncano, the reality is that they're not exactly the same.
Please wait, there's a technical issue.
What the hell are you doing? This isn't about giving out information. Just stick to reading the talking points we've given you, you idiots. Telepedro doesn't pay you $14 million a year to be truthful.
Well, doctor, as you were saying, all the alternatives to tobacco, like vaping or nicotine pouches or that crap, they're all the same garbage, right? And anyone who says otherwise is a fascist, right?
Let's see.
Well, actually, it's that. Shh.
Just say yes. Bad guys.
Oh, of course. Really bad. Super Nazis. As our brilliant says,
Broncano, yes, friends, yes, and you pay for it. No matter what nonsense you say there, the audience applauds. They all look like they just came from Faraz Street after being handed one of those cash envelopes that get passed around in the hallways. It's incredible. Well, this recipe was sent to me by Ignacio and many other people. I really liked it. You can see a bunch of potatoes and Sanchez. What's the name of the recipe? Potatoes with chorizo. Yes. They laugh. I've done it too. Well, the Pope Guide in Catalan that Rafa sent me, I loved it.
Some of you have asked me to speak in Catalan, which I think is great. Here's what I've prepared. Applause. And long live Spain, that's why I sing with all my soul. And long live Spain, people sing with great passion. And long live Spain, life has a different flavor, and Spain is the best.
For this to happen and the walnut trees lose their teeth. Well, if Ari and Daniel's teeth fall to the ground, but Sanchez and Begoña Gomez are in bed, be careful, Merche is in charge.
How are you? Super mega indicted. From now on, you don't know me. We've never met. And me, little brother? Go shove your fucking music up your ass. Good thing I have you, Pachin.
And he's petting Pachi, who's a tiny, silly, useless thing, just like Pachi, and he's stroking his head. It's a beautiful scene. All right, one more. They sent me a picture of Pope Francis being given a Boca Juniors jersey. It's an old one, of course, and the number on it, as you can see, is 33. And they asked me, what's going on? Was he also a Freemason like supposedly Sanchez? Well, they say he was given the 33 because that's the age at which Christ died. But when it comes to Pope Francis, anything goes. Notice that Florentino Perez gave a jersey to the current Pope and it was number 1, which seems more logical to me than 33. So who knows what was going on with Boca Juniors? Well, get ready. There will be more. It will be tomorrow. And I want you to be there with us in the trenches, defending freedom of the press and truthful information. Thank you for being with us. Hugs to everyone.
Tú lo sabes y yo lo sé. Somos confidenciales. Tú eres confidencial. Yo soy confidencial. Todos confidenciales. Todos confidenciales. Pero solo para mentes abiertas y para gente despierta. Desde la trinchera las balas silban y no hay manera de salir allá afuera. Aquí la libertad tiene las alas de cera. Albert Castillo, Susana Gash, Tucci Castillo y demás, muchas gracias. Skitskadelidu, badadelidu, con esto y un bizcocho, hasta mañana a las 8.
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón.